Hey everybody, it's Book of Katherine. I hope you're doing well. We are on to season 2 of October Insider Movies, and we are on to week 3. We are finally on week 3. I'm so sorry this is a little bit late. I know most of you are probably watching this well after October is finally gone of 2018, but that is just fine. For those of you that are here on time with me, I am so sorry that I was a little bit late, but that is my health, and I didn't know that it would be an election season because this is my very first time I have ever been knowing anything about politics, and I think we can all agree that oh my gosh, I wish we didn't know about politics. I mean, it's really important that we do. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I'm almost missing the time that I didn't know about it at all. Wish I didn't know anything. Wish I went back to knowing nothing. Let's do it, you guys. Let's go back. It's appropriate for Halloween. It's appropriate for Halloween, I would say. Let's do it. October Insider Movies, Season 2, Episode 3, 4 movies, 4 entire categories. Let's start with classic. And for classic, we are building up. Remember, we're ramping up. I'm doing a little bit more of a costume, and then I'll go, my best costume I'll do for the very final week. So we're going to do Godzilla. So the king of all the monsters in Hollywood. He's known as the king of the monsters. But guess what? Godzilla was not actually created by Hollywood. I don't know if most of you know that. Well, actually, I know the real theater buffs do. But Godzilla was not actually a Hollywood creation. Godzilla was a Japan creation. And Godzilla was a Japan creation because of the atomic bombs. And that's kind of like all of a sudden depressing, but that's the reality of the situation. It was actually created in 1954. We were doing the very original Godzilla. So the original Godzilla was created in Japan, actually by a famous director. It wasn't his first film, and he is actually a really well-known director, had done films before, really excellent director. And it was a serious film. I mean, it was addressing the atomic age, and afterwards it was only 10 years after the atomic bomb, and it was addressing that issue. And the film that everyone saw in America is not the film that they did in 1954 in Japan. And it was such a huge success that a tiny film company here in America just took a chance on it. They saw how well it did in Japan, and they actually took a chance on it here in America. And they actually bought the rights to distribute it here in America. But what they did first is they edited out some scenes, they deleted some scenes, and they actually filmed some new scenes with Raymond Burr in it. That's why some things are dubbed over and some aren't. And Raymond Burr played a journalist that was in Japan at the time and kind of reporting on the monster raging through Japan. And so the monster is supposed to be a result of the atomic age and things like that. And so, I think that it's a good thing, because there is this very real thing I tell people all the time, the difference, everyone says the difference is between the generations, the millennials and Generation X. There's a big difference between millennials and Generation X. There's Generation X and up, and then millennials. There's a big difference. And a lot of people say it's the internet. And I say, okay, the internet is some of it, but the big difference is the Cold War. There is a big, big difference of in the Cold War, Generation X grew up underneath the Cold War. They grew up thinking that their life could end under nuclear war. The threat of nuclear war was very, very real growing up. The newspapers would actually report that threat. So if you go into the Reagan Library in Calabasas in Southern California, which even Democrats love, I had some of my most liberal friends go with me, and they were just oh my gosh, because I think I told you guys this. I went on my last round trip out of California, and I was like, holy crap, just because everyone told me to go there. Oh, I'm getting off on that again. But if you go there, they go into this part of it where it goes underneath the Cold War, and all of the images they go into this Cold War section, and it brings back all these images on the wall, and it just floods it all back. It was all media images of what the media used to actually portray, and it brings it all back in the Berlin Wall. Kids today don't know what the Berlin Wall is. They have no clue. They couldn't tell you if you actually asked them. So it's a really, really, I think I wasn't thinking about that when I picked the film. The insiders were because remember, they picked it. But it was, when I was researching the film, I was just this is actually really important, because the threat of nuclear war is still very, very real. It's still, that's what we talk about when we talk about the Iran deal. So anyway, on to the monster. The monster, you'll see him still in big rubber costume and everything like that. But the reason why it's so important to know is that, get this, get this, there have been 12, actually more now, more than 12 remakes of the film since. 12, I think like 14 now, 14 remakes of the film after Godzilla. I mean, that's not just like 3, remakes. This is 14 remakes of the film Godzilla, and there will be more. There will be more. And it's a Japan film, so go Japan. Go Japan. You bet the best monster of all time came from Japan. Like, America didn't do that, so congratulations, Japan. Like, it wasn't Hollywood that did it. Japan did it. So just know that. Japan did the scariest monster of all time, the king of all the monsters. So it's a really important film to know because Hollywood's just been making bank on it ever since, and they will continue to do that. So, and all these other monster movies and stuff, so much of it is based on that. I cannot believe that I'm finally healthy enough to stand up and do this, and my lawnmowers are here. I'm just like, you've got to be joking. So I apologize for that. I'm like, finally up to do week 3, and they're right behind me. Oh no, I apologize for that. Okay, so that is the classic movie. So I'm thrilled about that because it's just such a classic, and you so need to know it. So, and in the original film was actually not called Godzilla. It was called Gojira. So if you want to see that one, the 1954 version, the one that's called Godzilla is the one that was released in 1956. So most of the versions that you'll see here in the US, they'll say the original version was 1956, but that's the release that was done here in the United States. So be aware of that. So number 2 is the kids version, and well, actually it was a family version, and that's Watership Down, which just straight up, it is a cartoon, but boy is it deep. Like, boy, is it deep. And it's based on a novel that's a classic novel that you should know anyway. And I know I've been talking about reading with your kids. That's the novel that they should be reading. So, like, whereas Secret of NIMH is, like, for younger children, Watership Down is, like, for older children. It's, like, grades 6 through 7, 5th, 6th, and 7th grade. Whereas Secret of NIMH is, like, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, kind of like, if that helps you at all. But it's still something the whole entire family can see. And it is, again, it was really interesting. This one it's kind of like 1984, the film 1984, the cartoon. And I was just like, I can't believe this, another scary movie after we did Invasion of the Body Snatchers. But this, again, is about conformity, and the Watership Down is just a terrifying movie, but it was about conformity. So it's going to be interesting to see if you think that it's terrifying today, all about conformity with the PC culture, how that it's going to be fascinating to see if you think it is so terrifying now. It's important to go back and see how this was a classic book, a classic film, all the way up until, boom, mid-90s. And then afterwards, what the PC culture has done. And is that terrifying anymore? And how when we are on television media today, we're actually debating whether or not we should be using this term. We're not, even like conservatives and on Fox and everything, they're just saying when you should use the term. And I'm just like, why are we debating that at all? It's freedom of speech. We shouldn't be even debating whether or not we're using a term. All terms are okay. We are in America. Everything's okay. Everything except for go kill that person is okay. Everything. Like, it's hands off. It's America. So the debate, there's no debate to me. Like, we're the one place on earth that has that freedom, and we have to protect it. Unfortunately, we are in, November 6th. You have the opportunity to vote in a party that actually has voted against the First Amendment, I believe 3 times in the last 3 years, to kill the First Amendment. That's the first time in our history in our nation. So, I know, but, so it's Halloween! Ha ha ha! Halloween! So that would be the blue wave. Yay, kill the First Amendment. Woohoo! So sad. All right, so Hellraiser. Here we go. So Hellraiser is good. No, that's actually our horror, so I'm going to do that last. Jaws is our suspense. Jaws is it. I don't even know how to name what a big classic it is. Jaws, like, the music. Dun 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 dun. Like, that is Jaws. That music, just like Psycho. Boom. Okay, so here's the story behind Jaws, and another reason why it's so important. Jaws is what launched Steven Spielberg. Like, it is what launched Steven Spielberg. So there's like a little group of directors, and I don't know if you know that they really came. Film buffs will know, like film school buddies and stuff like that will know that, especially since we've gotten into this culture where we don't really worship the films or the directing or the things that go on, but we worship the celebrities, like the directors that go. Like I've been watching some interviews lately for films lately, and I'm like, they're putting the directors in the front, and like they interview the directors like they're the celebrities. And the directors aren't even talking about the audiences. They're not talking about the audiences, how they want to entertain them. They're talking about their personal vision, their personal question, their personal. And I'm like, what the heck? You're not the celebrity. Like, you're not the actor. You're not the one telling the story. Like, why are the directors like this? I'm just like, it's fascinating to me. Like, the directors are one that pull out the story and everything like that. But like, if they're not talking about how they're trying to, you know, get the story to the audience and how they care about the audience, we've got a problem. Like, we've got a really big problem. So the reason that this worked so well is because these were directors who actually did that. Like, they really, really reached audiences in ways that hadn't been done before. They really broke through. And the directors were like, it was Steven Spielberg, and he came along with a little group of guys. Like, it was Steven Spielberg and it was George Lucas. So Steven Spielberg came along with Jaws at 1975, and then it was George Lucas. It was Star Wars 1975. Hold on. Sorry, and Martin Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola, and like Martin Scorsese did Raging Bull, that was in 1980, and then Francis Ford Coppola, like they were these, and there's like 4 of them that are like super big, so, like there's a bunch, like, and I think there's still, I don't know if that's what they were called back then. I know that the guys today still call them the movie brats or whatever. I just know that they're just this pack, and still today, like the 4 that still, like, they all come together. There's a bunch of them, like Robert Altman. There's a bunch that they all say were these people that came up right in the middle there. But I know that it started with Jaws, and then it was just like this group of movies. So others say that it was Star Wars and all this stuff. So it's debatable. It's debatable, but like Jaws, boom, 75. Star Wars, boom, 73. Like there's all these, I think 73 or 75. I think Star Wars was 75. And then that's right. I think Jaws was the summer of 75, and then Star Wars was like December of 75, and then Raging Bull was like 1980. Whatever it was just like this little gaggle of kids. And the thing is that they did movies differently, and they just came through. Let me give you an example, like Robert Altman. If you watch Jerry's Weintraub's, I think it's like I Did It My Way or whatever. If you watch that film, if you watch his documentary, and I know I've recommended it, we did it in Insider Movies, the first one I did at the beginning of 2018, and I recommended that in the Insider Movies. I said watch that documentary. And he talks about how Robert Altman did things differently, how no one wanted to distribute the film because when people talked in the film, they talked over each other. And it used to be someone would deliver a line, and then they'd wait for that line to finish, and then the next person would deliver a line. And in Robert Altman's film, they'd be in an office and everyone was talking over each other. And like Weintraub saw that was genius because no one had done that before. And he's just like, that's how people actually talk. Like, they talk over each other. And he's like, why haven't we been doing that before? He saw the genius of that, right? So he worked with Robert Altman. So the thing is that kids like that came through, and not kids, but the older people in Hollywood saw them as kids, even though they were older. They were in their 20s and their 30s and things like that. And I mean, they created some genius pieces. And some people say that Jaws was the one that punched through it all, and it was just this massive hit. It wasn't his first film. It was his second film. But it was just a massive, massive film. And it launched other careers too. Like, it launched other careers. You're going to see stars in it. Like, every star in it has gone on and just been like huge. Like, they've all been huge. Richard Dreyfuss like went on to win Oscars and things like that. And then the music was really, really huge. And I think the thing is that they came through, and I think kids today want to come through and do something like that. The difference is that you have to be willing to think of the audience when you do it. They all thought of the audience. One of the things that I love about Star Wars is that I remember that when I was watching Interstellar, it was I was shocked because I was sitting there in the movie theater, and I was sitting there watching Interstellar, and I saw them they were going out into a planet. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's the first time I've seen a scene since Star Wars where I felt like they were on a different planet. First time. All the other times I felt like, okay, that's CGI. that looks like CGI, that looks like CGI, that looks like a cartoon, that looks like CGI, I'm tired of it, that looks like CGI. And it's the first time since Star Wars where I was like, oh, we're on a different planet. And then they go to something else, and I'm like, that's Alaska, I've been there. Like, I just was like, okay, that's where I've been there. And fortunately, I've been to a lot of glaciers, so that's what I mean. Live it up while you can. Live it up before you get sick. I'm like, live it up. So I was like, oh, I know where that is. But there were scenes in there where I was like, that's a different place. Where I was like, wow, that's a different planet. And it was really, really nice to be like actually transported somewhere. But again, it transported me back to Star Wars. And still in Star Wars, I'm like, I don't ever research that film because it's still, when I watch it, I still feel like I'm on another planet. Like it wasn't until Interstellar, I'll never forget it. It wasn't until Interstellar that I actually considered that Star Wars had been filmed on this planet. I was like, oh my God, it must have been filmed here somewhere. That's how good they did. Like, that's how much it drove us to some other place, because they considered filmmaking different, because they really try to transport us. Just like Raging Bull tried to transport us somewhere else. They did in black and white, and they moved the camera inside somewhere else. But they were really considering the audience. And that's the difference, is that today filmmakers are really considering themselves. They're thinking, how can I make myself stand out? That's not what these guys were doing. They were thinking, how can I tell the story better? You know, how can I amp the story? How can I intensify the story? I mean, they're so obsessed with the story. They were so not obsessed with themselves. They weren't thinking about themselves. They were so into story. And that's the difference between a great filmmaker, you know, and just some kid that's just going to circulate and make great films for China. Because that's great for socialism. Narcissists are great for socialism. Because you'll make whatever the big money gives you, right? So, oh, that Hold the Dark guy really got to me. He really, really got to me. I was like, whoa. All right, so Jaws is it's just huge. By the way, if you don't know it, Universal Studios, like, then it adopted Jaws, like the big shark. Like, if you go to Universal Studios, they use it on people come from around the world to be on one of their trams that goes by and the shark jumps out at them. I mean, like, Universal Studios built their entire theme park around Jaws. Like, they hadn't done that before, and it still jumps out and scares people, and some people still don't know about it. That's a big deal. Like, to build a theme park around like a movie that actually scared people, and people didn't want to go swimming. I gotta tell you, I gotta be honest. Like, I actually was like, can someone do research? I kid you not. After watching Friday the 13th, and then after watching Jaws, I was just like, because everyone, I don't know if you've seen Dirty Dancing, but we used to all go out to the woods. Like, America used to vacation out in the Great Lakes. They used to go out into the frontier. That's where they used to vacation. They didn't go off into Bali and all these places. They didn't go and resort to Vegas and these luxury hotels and everything like that. They used to go out into the wilderness, and that's where they vacation. They do these family vacations. And I actually was like, can someone do some research on, like, after Friday the 13th, they used to go to camps and stuff and family vacations and stuff like that, and go on lakes and go canoeing. And I was like, why are those all closing down? And why are these being bought out by, like, you know, like big corporations and stuff like that? And then I was like, after I saw Friday the 13th and Jaws, I was like, oh, let's see. That was made in 1980, and that was made, I think they're both made in 1980. And I was like, can someone check for me and see if it declined, like, right then? Like, if it just declined, like the American waterways companies just went down. I was like, that is a lawsuit waiting to happen. I'd be so interested to hear. And if they didn't, they could, I'm like, can you retroactively do it? Because I'm like, if you're trying to destroy American vacations, that they just did a great job. I was just like, wow, you just like eliminated, like, at least Godzilla, like, was like, you know, that could never, ever happen. But, like, all of these were just like, oh, yeah, you can put your leg out in the water, and there are definitely sharks. I mean, it's a little bit bigger than average. But, you know, you can go to a tank. You can go to, like, you know, an aquarium out in Monterey Bay, and you can see sharks, and you can see teeth like that. You can go down to the Metropolitan Museum. You can go to freaking Smithsonian. You can go to Smithsonian Natural Museum, and you can actually, I have pictures of me standing in these shark teeth, like this big, and I'm in the middle, and I'm like, ah. I did it. I worked my life. 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 All right, and the final one is scary as heck. So that was suspense, was Jaws. Amazing, amazing, amazing. All right, so now we are into Hellraiser, and I would just like to say I would like credit for the fact that I watched Hellraiser. If you are if you're prissy at all, if you are scared of, if you don't like the dark, if you don't like demons, if you don't like any of that, this ain't the movie for you. Like, this ain't the movie for you at all. Like, this is the dark times 10. This is the most insane, this is like the most, like, no. The only thing I can say, okay. However, why is it on the list? There are reasons it's on the list, and so I apologize to those of you whose family and everything, and I said that there is a reason it's on the list, and I'm going to have to ask that you can trust me on this, so you're going to need to know it. But there's a reason it's on the list. So, it's such a well done movie. Like, that's the thing, is I did get through it. It's a very, very, very well done movie. And again, like Hellraiser, there's just what can I say? I think that, okay, let's put it this way. Do you remember how Friday the 13th, and I said it's different because it's slasher, and you're kind of like, well, it can't really, you kind of know it's like out of unreality. You know in Friday the 13th, if you haven't seen it already, like, this is spoiler alert, you can pause it for a little bit, like, I'll raise my hand when I'm done, hopefully. Okay, so, at the end of the canoe, and there's like this kid that's still living in the water, and then all of a sudden, 13 years later, he comes out of the lake, and he goes, ah, and she's like, there's still a kid in the water, that's a really scary part, and everyone's like, right? Okay, like, we all know that could never happen. Like, we know that's not reality. We know there's not a 13-year-old living in the water for the rest of the next 13. It's a spooky thing. It's a scary thing, but it ain't reality. Like, there's nothing like that in the world that's happening. There's not a 13-year-old kid getting, like, gloppy, like, gathering mold on his shoulder in the middle of the lake. Like, it's spooky and it's scary and it scares people off of canoeing, but it ain't gonna really happen. All right, there, it's done. Okay, so that's what makes it different, okay? Like, did everyone see that? I'm done with it. You can take it off silent if you wanted, spoiler alert. All right, so there's a difference between that, which could never happen. We all know that's a break from reality. That's the scariest part is, like, what separates it from reality, so that it makes it an entertaining film, to what makes reality, which is like Event Horizon, which is like, we know that kind of dark exists in reality. It's psychopathic porn. A psychopath would watch that as pornography, would get off on it. If you imagine psychopaths, like, it is what they're sitting at home eating popcorn going, Event Horizon, It's like a training video. If a psychopath wanted to train a battalion, they would use Event Horizon. All right? So, because it's real, like, it's that kind of evil is real. It exists in society. It's how they hunt. It's how they work. It's how they move. That kind of evil exists. Period. We all know it because we freaking have to watch it as entertainment every Wednesday night on the FBI shows, right? So, when we cut, like, Criminal Minds and everything like that, they're stringing up women and everything like that. So, now we move on over to Hellraiser. So there is just, that's kind of, it's not the same. It's not the same as Event Horizon. But there is this whole, it's different in the way that, and I guess I should say this, there are objects sold, like spiritual objects. There is a, like voodoo. There are magical objects that are traded off, and there are like, people do curse. You've seen it on Dr. Phil. People curse others. They use objects. They put curses on them. And that ain't a realm you want to go into. There's a reason. Like, there's magic. Islam has magic. And then there's apparently, like, Santeria or whatever. There's magic and stuff like that. And there is a reason why they get onto Dr. Phil and they say that they are scared. And they feel like they're being hunted. And they feel like it's the dark. And that's why you hear about cats being skinned out the occult. Okay? And it's as if that whole movie is just a warning about never going near those objects or that kind. That's what it is. That whole movie is like one big, like, don't go here. like, it will promise you pleasure. It will promise you all this, but you need to see what the pain's actually going to be like. And that is, you know what, and I guess that's the reason why it's on the list, I'm realizing, is because as someone who has interacted in Wall Street, you, right now, if you have seen Hellraiser, some of you are probably like thinking, oh my God, she's right, okay? Because you have experienced the excesses. When you get to the point where you have all the money in the world, like, this is an interesting fact and statistic that you may not know. Everyone says, everyone, no matter what economic strata, this is an amazing data fact, if everyone, no matter what economic strata they're at, they always say, I just need 30% more to get by. Everyone, they say, if I have 30% more cash, I'll have enough to get by. Everyone. That's their thing. If you're here, 30% more will get me by. If you're here, 30% more will get me by. Everyone thinks 30% more will get them by. You know, but the people who have reached like the top and they know that's kind of all they're realizing, like, it ain't ever, you know, they just keep getting the money, and they finally, they're shopping at the best shops, and then we realize there's no more best shops to shop at, and you start realizing, you know, like I said in my Boss Jewelry video, I was like, you get to a point where you realize I can buy and buy and buy and buy. I can't wear it all. Or you can buy all the makeup. You can't wear it all. You can't do it all. You can get all the toys at some point, you know, you can't, you know, and then there are other sides that come with it. Everything comes with a price. And I'm not saying that luxury and all that stuff comes with a price, but if you go into a world that, I especially saw this in the dance community, and I'm just saying that, man, I saw this a lot. I saw this a lot and I saw it when I worked in, I saw it in a few communities. Just be very wary when something promises power and they say they want something in exchange for that power. They're like, I'll give you ultimate power in exchange for this. They're always giving you the lowest price. They're like, we'll only take 10 cents. It ain't 10 cents. They're giving you the smallest hook. They're like, we're going to give you the world. It's only going to cost 10 cents. It ain't going to cost 10 cents. And that's kind of what this movie is saying. And a lot of people in like Hollywood and a lot of people on Wall Street at the top, they're going to tell you that because that, you know, you can see it in their faces. Like, you're not exactly seeing at the very top echelon, are they looking healthy and glowy, or is it the rare person that's looking healthy and glowy and satisfied? You know what I mean? Are they having to wear a lot, or are you seeing a lot of people who are kind of sunken in and not looking all that different? If they took off all their makeup, are they looking all that different than the people on Dr. Phil who are there for help? Like, it's a stressful life at either end. If you gotta still make, like, you gotta be smart. Like, ain't nothing for free. Like, there ain't no such thing as a free lunch. And that's part of what this movie is saying. And I think that's why the movie did so well. And it's the reason I got through the movie. But I would still like some serious street cred for getting through that movie. And I think that's why I did get through it. Number one, it's amazing filmmaking. Oh, and then the final thing I want to say about the movie is, like, amen to the woman. Like, amen to the lady in that's the whole time I was just like, her makeup is so boss, and her clothing is so boss, and this is so bad. But why do they always dress the bad girl in the amazing makeup? Why is it always the bad girl in, like, the red lip or in it? Watch the Cinderella. I dare you to watch the Cinderella that they put out recently, that Disney put out. And what did they dress Cinderella in versus what did they dress the godmother in? What did they dress? They dressed her in the Gucci. They dressed her in the Prada. They dressed her in power colors. They dressed her like a queen, and it was the bad girl. Like, if you dress like someone who could, because I'm telling you, if you dress like you did that godmother in that Cinderella, that's the kind of woman who succeeds in politics. That's how the women dress who are behind the political scene. They're actually making things move in the political, like, go ahead and watch that movie with Julia Roberts and what's his name? Go watch Nancy Reagan or whatever, or Hillary, or like, the women in politics are not wearing weak colors. Like, the ones that are really, really moving, shaking, and the wives and stuff, like, they're not like, who was I going to say? That movie with Julia Roberts and Tom Hanks. There's a movie out there, Tom Hanks and Julia Roberts, and she's dressed like to kill. She is dressed to kill, and she is like making things happen. She has this amazing house, freaking, and she is just an amazing character because she is just like, and she's dressed, and amazingly they put the evil godmother, and I'm like, have you ever seen a good girl dressed like that? Even Devil Wears Prada, how do they dress the bad woman in it, the evil woman? That's who they, even like the Emily Blunt character, she was supposed to be the terrible person, they put her in that. What do they put the good girl in? Like, they put her in the lighter colors, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like, why can't the good girl be wearing, like, black and a red? Like, what is going on? Like, when did we switch this? Actually, we know all this. I did in my research, but I want you to be aware of it because before in Hellraiser, like, I was just sitting there going, oh, but I like her fashion. Oh, but look at that eye makeup. Like, look at all that makeup that we're not allowed to wear because of Sharia Hasidic laws. Like, because UN 21 is like fading them out, and that's the world's dictators. Look at the laws in the world. Look at the laws in the world. Like Bangladesh, 92% is like Sharia law is the thing. Women can't wear makeup. So, all the heavy. Look at the women of the 80s, 50s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 80s. All the makeup we used to wear. And you will see it in Hellraiser. How much makeup we used to wear to feel just boom. Because we were allowed to wear. America, women are allowed to wear glam. And now, and if you're on YouTube, you have to wear it like a drag queen. That's the drag queen makeup we're taught because then we spend all our money on it. It's like, thanks a million, and if it's not that, then it's like, if you're in high fashion, you're taught that, go natural. Well, you tell me if you think it's natural what this woman's wearing, because I thought she looked pretty bomb. 80s bomb, but she looked bomb. So anyway, that's my last comment on Hellraiser. Now as we're at 30 minutes, that's really a long time. But at least we did it. At least we did it, and I got to wear this because I bought it. I was just in love with it. And the entire group of insiders, like, I swear, I got home and they were all like, no, you can wear it for your Halloween costume, and that's it. And I was like, oh. So, terrible fashion choice. Terrible. So I am now posted and sent, and I will never, ever wear this again. Ever. So, I do love this hat, though. So, I have officially worn it. Halloween costume, done. So, I hope they're happy. I wear it as a Halloween costume. I aired my bad. My Halloween costume taste. So, anyway, I love you guys so much. Thank you for putting up with me. I've been watching some YouTube videos on some what other YouTubers go through and stuff like that, and I'm just like, I don't know, you guys make my life just really, really great. So I am really grateful for you guys making my life better. Like, I've actually run into some of you now. Now when I go out, I'm actually recognized. And like, I didn't understand it when it was happening. Like, I just was like, I was talking to my husband, I was like, people are looking at me weird. Like, I'm getting these weird, it's freaking me out. Like, I'm getting all these weird smiles. Like, it's just freak. And then finally I asked one, I was like, why are you? And they were like, oh, well, I love your, and I was like, oh, shoot. Like, and I realized you attract people who are like you. You attract people who are like you. And I'm the same way. When I'd see someone, I'd smile exactly the way they're smiling at me. Like, like, hi, how are you doing? And as if they know you. Like, they smile at me like they knew me. Like, they'd be like, hi, how you doing? It's so good to see you again. That's exactly like what I would do to people. Like, when I saw them, when I'd recognize them, I'd be like, hi. And I was just like, you attract people exactly like you. So to everyone who's seen me and been smiling at me and like waving at me and just, respecting my privacy and letting me be hurt and just giving me your glow and your energy on the street and just, I've seen all of you and I noticed it and the reason I would give you I smiled back at every one of you, but I also had that confused look on my face, and the confused look was, why do you love me so much? Like, what did I do? And I want to thank you for that because I understand now, and I'll get used to that, and I want to just say that you just make my life so much better. You just make my life so much better. I really love the relationship that we have. You guys are the freaking best. It makes me look forward to going out more because I know that it makes it a safer world. I can't believe that. Like, how does that happen? Like, how does the world become safer? Like, it doesn't make it as scary. Thank you. Thanks for making it safer for me. Because, you know, I guess you know how scary it is for me to go out there and re-socially adjust. And you guys are making it safer and stuff like that. You guys are just the best for that. Thank you for just being perfect. So, anyway, I love you guys. First video done after my second gangland in Parblock. Yay! Happy Halloween. See you on the next one. It'll be out in just a couple days, like tomorrow or the next day, because I want it to be out before Halloween. All right, love you guys. Bye. Watch these videos. And donate down below if you can help out at all. So all donations go to my medical bills. All of them go to my medical bills unless you leave a note. So unless you leave a note that says you want it to go to supporting the cats, then I totally use it because they cost a lot of money. So so I always put it towards their cat care. That's why I put up the grass video. So I'll try and include that here actually. And then if there's something else you want me to put it towards, then I'll put it towards that. So so somebody actually said go buy vintage with this, so I'm going to do a video of what I got to buy with that. But really it all goes medical bills. Someday I'll do a video where I'll show you all the bills that you guys have just like saved me from. Thank you. Mwah. Yay. Have fun with movies. Bye.